have you ever noticed that the people you admire the most aren't always the smartest, the most talented, or even the most motivated? Yet somehow they keep moving forward while others, equally capable, remain stuck in the same place year after year. It's easy to believe that success belongs to those who were born with extraordinary gifts, but psychology tells a very different story. The greatest divide between those who achieve remarkable lives and those who constantly struggle isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't even intelligence. It's discipline. Here's something even more surprising. Motivation is one of the least reliable forces in human behavior. Neuroscientists have discovered that motivation rises and falls like the weather. Some mornings you wake up energized, ready to conquer the world. Other days, the same goals that once excited you feel heavy and distant. If your actions depend on motivation, your future depends on a feeling that refuses to stay. But discipline is different. Discipline keeps moving long after motivation disappears. Think about that for a moment. Every dream you've ever had has been standing on the other side of ordinary days. Not extraordinary moments. Not sudden breakthroughs. Just countless ordinary days when you either chose to continue or chose to stop. That quiet decision, repeated over and over again, shapes your destiny far more than any burst of inspiration ever could. Most people spend their lives searching for the secret that successful people supposedly know. They read books, watch motivational videos, attend seminars, and make endless plans. Yet, after the excitement fades, they return to the same routines that created the life they wanted to escape. Why? Because information changes very little by itself. Transformation begins when behavior changes, and behavior changes only when discipline becomes stronger than emotion. But here's what most people never realize. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It isn't a personality trait reserved for military officers, elite athletes, or successful entrepreneurs. Discipline is a skill. Like any skill, it grows through repetition. The brain literally rewires itself every time you choose a difficult action over an easy excuse. Every disciplined decision strengthens neural pathways that make the next disciplined decision slightly easier. This is where everything changes. Imagine your brain as a forest filled with countless trails. Every thought, every habit, and every action creates a path through that forest. The paths you travel most often become smooth highways. The ones you ignore slowly disappear beneath the grass. If you constantly choose comfort, your brain builds highways toward procrastination, distraction, and instant gratification. But when you repeatedly choose discipline, even in small ways, you begin building entirely new roads. At first, those roads are narrow and difficult. Eventually, they become your default direction. This is why personal growth feels uncomfortable in the beginning. Your brain isn't trying to sabotage you. It's simply trying to conserve energy by following familiar paths. The discomfort you feel when building better habits isn't proof that you're failing. It's evidence that your brain is adapting. Have you ever promised yourself that tomorrow would be different? Tomorrow you'll wake up early. Tomorrow you'll start exercising. Tomorrow you'll stop wasting time. Tomorrow you'll finally begin that project you've been postponing for months. Then tomorrow arrives and somehow another tomorrow takes its place. Psychologists call this the intention-action gap. You genuinely want to improve. Your intentions are real. But wanting something and consistently acting on it are controlled by different systems inside your brain. One is driven by emotion. The other is driven by habit. That's why people can desperately want success while continuing behaviors that guarantee failure. The uncomfortable truth is that your future isn't created by your strongest intentions. It's created by your strongest habits. Look around at the world. Every successful business, every impressive career, every healthy body, every meaningful relationship, every financial achievement was built one consistent action at a time. We often admire the final result while overlooking the thousands of invisible choices that made it possible. An athlete doesn't become a champion during the final competition. The competition merely reveals what months of disciplined practice have already built. A musician doesn't master an instrument during a concert. The audience simply witnesses years of invisible repetition. An entrepreneur doesn't suddenly become wealthy because one idea worked. Wealth is often the result of countless disciplined decisions, painful failures, careful learning, and relentless consistency. Success always looks sudden from the outside because we rarely see the discipline that happened in private. Something unexpected happens next. The modern world quietly trains you to become undisciplined. Every notification competes for your attention. Every advertisement promises instant satisfaction. Every social media feed convinces you that everyone else is living a better life. Your brain wasn't designed to resist unlimited distractions. Thousands of years ago, survival depended on responding immediately to whatever demanded your attention. Today, those same instincts are constantly exploited by technology designed to keep you scrolling, clicking, and consuming. Your attention has become one of the most valuable resources in the world. Companies spend billions of dollars trying to capture it because they know that wherever your attention goes, your life follows. If you cannot control your attention, you cannot control your future. Discipline, then, isn't simply about forcing yourself to work harder. It's about protecting your focus from everything that wants to steal it. Think of your attention as sunlight. When sunlight is scattered across a field, it creates warmth. But when it's concentrated through a magnifying glass, it can start a fire. The same mind that feels powerless when distracted becomes incredibly productive when focused on one meaningful task. This is why productivity isn't about doing more things. It's about giving your best energy to fewer things that matter most. Many people mistake being busy for being productive. They fill every hour with activity, answer messages immediately, attend unnecessary meetings, and constantly switch between tasks. By the end of the day, they're exhausted, yet nothing truly important has moved forward. Discipline teaches a different philosophy. Instead of asking, "What else can I do today?" it asks, "What is the one thing that matters most today?" That single question changes everything. Behavioral scientists have found that every decision you make consumes a small amount of mental energy. By evening, after making hundreds of choices, your brain naturally seeks comfort. That's why unhealthy food seems more tempting at night, why procrastination feels easier after a long day, and why many important goals are abandoned before they ever become habits. Highly disciplined people understand this without necessarily knowing the science behind it. They don't rely on endless willpower. Instead, they reduce unnecessary decisions. They prepare tomorrow's clothes tonight. They schedule their workouts instead of debating whether to exercise. They plan their priorities before the day begins. They create environments where good habits become easier and bad habits become harder. Discipline isn't about constantly fighting yourself. It's about making fewer battles necessary. But here's another truth that can completely change your mindset. Confidence doesn't come before disciplined action. Confidence comes after disciplined action. Most people wait until they feel confident before taking a risk. They believe confidence is a prerequisite for success. Psychology shows the opposite. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, your brain collects evidence that you are trustworthy. Each completed task becomes proof that you can rely on yourself. That's how real confidence is built. Not through positive thinking, not through empty affirmations, but through consistent action. Every disciplined choice sends a quiet message to your subconscious. I do what I say I will do. Over time, those messages become your identity. And once your identity changes, everything else begins to follow. But there's an even deeper psychological shift that separates people who achieve extraordinary success from those who stay trapped in cycles of starting and stopping. It has nothing to do with working harder, and everything to do with how you see yourself. That's where our journey continues. The moment you begin to see yourself as a disciplined person, your decisions start changing in ways you barely notice at first. You no longer wake up asking, "Do I feel like doing this today?" Instead, a different question quietly takes its place. What would the person I want to become do next? That small shift in identity is one of the most powerful discoveries in modern psychology. Human beings naturally act in ways that confirm the story they believe about themselves. If someone believes they are always late, they unconsciously create situations that prove it. If someone believes they are unlucky, every setback becomes another piece of evidence. But when someone begins believing, "I am disciplined," Every small action becomes an opportunity to reinforce that identity. This is why lasting change rarely begins with giant goals. It begins with tiny promises. Imagine placing one brick on an empty field every single day. After a week, it doesn't look like much. After a month, it still seems insignificant. But after a year, you've built the foundation of a house. Most people quit because they're staring at the empty field instead of appreciating the bricks they're laying. Discipline teaches you to fall in love with the process rather than becoming obsessed with immediate results. But here's what most people never realize. Your brain is constantly asking one silent question: is this worth the effort? If the reward feels too distant, your brain naturally resists the work. That's why saving money feels harder than buying something today. It's why exercising feels harder than sitting on the couch. The future reward is real, but the present discomfort feels more immediate. Behavioral scientists call this present bias. We are wired to value today's comfort more than tomorrow's success. Disciplined people aren't immune to this bias. They simply learn to shorten the distance between effort and reward. Instead of waiting 6 months to celebrate becoming healthier, they feel proud every time they complete a workout. Instead of waiting years to become wealthy, they celebrate every smart financial decision. Instead of waiting until they've written an entire book, they appreciate every page they finish. Each small victory tells the brain, this effort is worth repeating. That simple principle transforms consistency from a struggle into a lifestyle. There's another habit that's even more powerful. Successful people rarely depend on willpower because they understand the invisible influence of their environment. Picture two people trying to eat healthier. The first fills the kitchen with snacks, sugary drinks, and junk food while promising to be stronger. The second removes unhealthy temptations, prepares nutritious meals in advance, and keeps fresh fruit where it's easy to reach. Who do you think has the better chance of succeeding? Most people would say the second person simply has more discipline. But that's only part of the story. The second person designed an environment that makes good decisions easier. Psychology consistently shows that environment often wins over intention. We like to believe our choices come entirely from determination, but much of our behavior is shaped by what surrounds us. Your desk influences your focus. Your friends influence your ambition. Your phone influences your attention. Your routines influence your future. If your environment constantly encourages distraction, even the strongest motivation will eventually fade. That's why discipline isn't just about changing yourself. It's about changing the conditions that shape your behavior. Take a moment to imagine your daily life as a flowing river. Every object placed in that river changes its direction. A phone beside your bed changes your morning. A television always running changes your evenings. A notebook on your desk changes your thinking. A pair of running shoes by the door changes your likelihood of exercising. Tiny environmental changes create enormous behavioral differences over time. This is where everything changes. People often believe resilience means never feeling tired, discouraged, or overwhelmed. Nothing could be further from the truth. Resilience is the ability to continue despite those feelings. Even the most disciplined people experience self-doubt. They wake up unmotivated. They question their progress. They wonder if the effort is worth it. The difference is that they don't interpret those emotions as instructions. Emotions are information. They are not commands. Imagine driving through heavy rain. You don't stop believing in your destination simply because the weather changes. You slow down if necessary. You become more careful. But you continue driving. Emotions work the same way. Some days your mind is clear. Some days it's cloudy. Discipline allows you to keep moving regardless of the forecast. That realization frees you from one of the greatest traps of self-improvement, the belief that you must always feel inspired. Real progress is often surprisingly ordinary. It's choosing to read 10 pages when you don't feel like reading. It's saving a small amount of money instead of spending impulsively. It's waking up when the alarm rings instead of negotiating with yourself. Those ordinary choices rarely feel life-changing in the moment. But years later, they become the reason your life looks completely different. Something unexpected happens next. The more disciplined you become, the quieter your mind becomes. First, this sounds strange. Many people assume discipline creates pressure. In reality, a lack of discipline creates far more stress. Think about unfinished tasks. Every assignment you delay continues occupying mental space. Every promise you break weakens your confidence. Every decision you postpone quietly drains your attention. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. The brain naturally keeps unfinished tasks active in your memory, creating mental tension until they're completed. This explains why procrastination feels exhausting even when you're doing nothing. Your body may be resting. Your mind isn't. Discipline removes that invisible weight. Every completed task closes an open mental loop. Every promise kept strengthens your inner peace. Eventually, your energy shifts away from worrying and toward creating. That's one of the hidden rewards of discipline. It doesn't just improve your productivity. It improves your peace of mind. Now consider another surprising truth about success. People often chase massive breakthroughs while ignoring the incredible power of consistency. Imagine two investors. One searches endlessly for the perfect opportunity, constantly changing strategies and waiting for the ideal moment. The other quietly invests a modest amount every month for years without missing. Who builds greater wealth? In many cases, it's the second person. Not because they made spectacular decisions, because they made reliable decisions. Life rewards consistency far more often than intensity. The same principle applies to learning. Reading 20 pages every day may seem insignificant, but after 1 year, you've read thousands of pages. The same applies to exercise. Improving 1% every day appears almost invisible. Yet, after several years, the transformation becomes extraordinary. Discipline is compound interest applied to your character. Every disciplined action earns another small return. At first, those returns seem almost impossible to notice. Then one day people call you lucky. They admire your confidence. They respect your mental strength. They wonder how you became so productive. What they don't see are the thousands of invisible choices that quietly compounded over time. Philosophers have long argued that freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want. Real freedom is having control over yourself. Without discipline, emotions control your schedule. Distractions control your attention. Impulses control your finances. Fear controls your decisions. But with discipline, something remarkable happens. You begin reclaiming ownership of your life. Each disciplined habit becomes another vote for the future you want to create. Each difficult decision becomes another reminder that your circumstances do not define your destiny. You begin realizing that success isn't one dramatic leap. It's thousands of ordinary moments where you quietly choose growth over comfort. And once you truly understand this, discipline stops feeling like a burden. It becomes a source of freedom, confidence, and purpose. You no longer chase motivation because you've built something far more reliable. A mindset that keeps moving forward regardless of circumstances. From this point on, every small decision becomes an opportunity to shape your future, proving that extraordinary lives are not created by extraordinary moments, but by ordinary actions repeated with unwavering consistency. Most people spend their lives waiting for the perfect moment to change. They tell themselves they'll become disciplined after they feel motivated, after life becomes less stressful, after they have more time, or after the circumstances finally improve. But life has a quiet way of reminding us that perfect moments rarely arrive. What does arrive, every single day, is another opportunity to make one better decision than yesterday. A young man named Daniel understood this better than anyone, though not at first. Daniel wasn't unusually talented. He wasn't the smartest person in his class, nor was he naturally confident. In fact, if you had met him in his early 20s, you probably would have described him as ordinary. He had big dreams but inconsistent habits. He bought productivity books he never finished. He wrote ambitious goals in expensive notebooks that gathered dust after a few weeks. Every Monday felt like a fresh start, and every Friday felt like another missed opportunity. The hardest part wasn't failing. It was knowing he was capable of more. Every night, he promised himself tomorrow would be different. Every morning, he believed it. But by afternoon, distractions quietly took over. One video became 10. One short break became an hour. One excuse became another reason to postpone the life he wanted. Months turned into years. One evening, after another unproductive day, Daniel looked around his small apartment. The unfinished books, the unopened online courses, the gym membership he rarely used, the ideas he never acted on. It suddenly felt as though he was living in a museum of abandoned potential. That realization hurt more than any failure, because he finally understood something. His biggest enemy wasn't lack of opportunity. It was inconsistency. The next morning, he made a decision that sounded almost too simple to matter. He stopped trying to change his entire life. Instead, he focused on winning just one promise each day. He would wake up at the same time, read 10 pages, exercise for 20 minutes, work with complete focus for 1 uninterrupted hour. No dramatic transformation, no impossible routines, just 4 promises. At first, nothing seemed different. His income didn't suddenly increase. His confidence didn't magically appear. His life looked almost exactly the same. But beneath the surface, something remarkable was happening. Every day he kept those promises, his identity shifted a little more. Instead of thinking, "I'm trying to become disciplined," he slowly began believing, "I am someone who finishes what I start." That belief changed everything. When difficult days arrived, and they always did, he no longer negotiated with himself. He simply followed the system. Some days his workouts were excellent. Some days they were average. Some days he barely wanted to begin. But he showed up anyway. Months later, friends started asking what had changed. They assumed he had discovered some secret productivity method. Some believed he had become naturally motivated. Others thought he had simply gotten lucky. They couldn't see the invisible victories. The mornings he chose discipline over comfort. The evenings he chose learning over entertainment. The weekends he invested in his future while others waited for Monday. Years later, Daniel's career looked completely different. His financial situation had improved. His health had transformed. His confidence had grown naturally. But the greatest change was invisible. For the first time in his life, he trusted himself. And that is perhaps the greatest wealth anyone can possess. Money can disappear. Opportunities can come and go. Circumstances can change overnight. But when you trust yourself to keep your word, you carry something that cannot easily be taken away. This is what discipline quietly builds. It builds self-respect. Every promise you keep becomes another brick in the foundation of your character. Eventually, people begin noticing your confidence. What they don't realize is that confidence wasn't created by success. Success was created by confidence earned through disciplined action. But here's what most people never realize. Discipline doesn't remove difficulty from life. It changes the way you respond to difficulty. Storms still come. Unexpected setbacks still happen. Plans still fail. People still disappoint you. The difference is that disciplined people recover faster because they have trained something far more valuable than talent. They have trained resilience. Resilience is like a muscle. Every difficult morning you overcome strengthens it. Every uncomfortable conversation you face strengthens it. Every setback you refuse to surrender to strengthens it. Over time, challenges that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. Not because life became easier, because you became stronger. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain. At first, the climb feels impossible. The path is steep. Your legs ache. The summit seems impossibly far away. Many people turn back because they're staring at the top instead of appreciating each step. The disciplined person keeps climbing. One step, then another. Eventually, something incredible happens. The mountain that once intimidated them becomes the very thing that made them stronger. Life works the same way. Every challenge carries within it the opportunity to become someone you could never become through comfort alone. This is why discipline changes everything. It changes your relationship with failure. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" you begin asking, "What is this teaching me?" It changes your relationship with time. Instead of spending years waiting, you begin investing each day wisely. It changes your relationship with success. Instead of chasing quick results, you focus on building lasting habits. And perhaps most importantly, it changes your relationship with yourself. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes. You become someone who acts. Remember this. Your future is not hiding inside tomorrow. It is hiding inside today's smallest decisions. The decision to get out of bed when the alarm rings. The decision to finish the task before checking your phone. The decision to save instead of spend. The decision to read instead of scroll. The decision to keep one more promise to yourself. These moments seem ordinary, yet they quietly shape extraordinary lives. Years from now, people may admire your success. They may praise your confidence. They may envy your achievements. What they will never fully see are the thousands of disciplined choices that built them. The beautiful truth is that you don't have to become perfect. You simply have to become consistent. One better decision today, another tomorrow, then another. Eventually, discipline stops feeling like something you force. It becomes who you are. And when discipline becomes your identity, success is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you naturally create. If you've enjoyed this audiobook and want more powerful lessons on mindset, discipline, success, psychology, and personal growth, subscribe to the channel Level Up Mind and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video. In the next video, we'll explore the psychology of self-control, where you'll discover another powerful mindset shift that can completely transform the way you think, work, and live. You won't want to miss it. As you finish listening, remember this simple truth. Every sunrise gives you a choice. You can continue living the same day on repeat, or you can build a future one disciplined action at a time. The distance between the life you have and the life you dream of is rarely measured by talent or luck. More often, it is measured by the promises you keep to yourself when no one is watching. Start with one promise today. Protect it. Repeat it tomorrow. Because the life you've always imagined isn't built in a single extraordinary moment. It is built quietly, patiently, and powerfully through discipline.